the actual Picard Countdown comic book series, Countdown #3. Um, I know Eric has something he wants to express about Star Trek Picard Countdown #3. You expressed that you had some issues actually finding a copy of Countdown #3 to purchase in order to read for the show. Please tell us the travails and the adventure that went into actually just tracking down a print copy of Countdown #3.
Well, I failed. I couldn't find it. And it's kind of interesting to me because we were talking a little bit off mic about sort of the state of the comic book industry in general. And this to me is a great example of why the comic book industry is struggling so much. Because you have a property come out that people want, whether the story is good or not, people don't care. They just want a physical copy of the book because it's considered a collector's item. And I think anybody could see that. It's a limited series. There are only 3 books. So a lot of people are going to want the complete collection. And it seems like a no-brainer to me that they would print these things massively and there would be a nice supply of them for people to go in and get them. I know for a fact there are people that don't read comic books at all and don't like comic books, and they're getting this book. Okay. Because I see the comments for people on Twitter and stuff like that. There are people that don't like comic books at all and wanted this book simply because it was the first Star Trek Picard thing, really, that was available widely to the public. The first physical thing. I'm not even talking about the digital stuff. Okay, I'm talking about the physical copy. It's a collector's item. So to me, it's a no-brainer. And I went to 4 different local comic book stores, very good, very big ones, good ones that are well established in my market area. And none of them had it. I went to 2 stores the day it came out. They were all out. I went to 2 additional stores this week. This book only came out on Wednesday. So you would think that the book would still be available. It's not. I talked to one comic book store owner that, he at least said, yeah, I did try to do a double order. I tried to make sure I had extra copies, but he got sold out anyway. It just to me, it's poor planning, in terms of the industry. It's like, people are going to want this. People that don't like comic books are going to want this. This is a great way for the comic book store owners to get somebody into their store that would never go in their store. And I just think everybody dropped the ball on it from the publishers to the individual store owners. They just don't get it.
Right.
And that's why they're in so much trouble right now. And that's why comic book stores are constantly closing all the time, because they just don't get it. Just don't get it. So yeah, I did want to kind of inject that little bit of reality as we start talking about the book itself.
Right. And I'm sure there's some places where, they ordered enough copies and people were able to get them. And I understand it from the obviously the opposite side too. The shop owners don't want to get stuck with a bunch of product they can't move. But I've also seen some people, like, for example, like Jesse James is an example. Like he does a pretty good job about, when he has that extra product, he's going to go on his comic book shopping network on, Facebook or whatever, and then he just flips it.
And that's one shop I didn't go to. That's one shop I did not go to because it's kind of far for me. That's on the west side. Yeah. I live on the east side. So he has a great shop. I've been to his shop before. He has an excellent shop. And I did not go to his. So I don't know if he has copies or not, because I didn't want to go all that way. But he has a great shop. So I want to give him props. And we probably should give more props to individual comic book stores and owners that we really like and say, hey, good job. You know what I mean? And he's a good example of that. And he's good at showmanship, promotion, all that kind of stuff. All the stuff that all the other owners seem really bad at or terrible at, he seems really good at, So I've gone to his shop before.
And I was just going to say that's one of the things he's good at. I mean, if he, if he's got the, he'll sell the books in the store, and then whatever he's got left over, he's got that on eBay real quick, So, after the cycle runs its course, he'll get that product out to someone who wants it. So, and, I'm sure there's there's good stores like in Las Vegas, like Maximum Comics and such, Alternate Reality. I'm sure there's places that had those copies. I bet even Game On here and Prescott probably did too. So there are places where you can go and get them. I've just been taking the easy way out, and, when it's something important for the show, I just get it digitally because I know I can get it and I'm not going to have any issues. So I did purchase it and actually read it on Comixology. And that's how I've read every issue of the Picard series. Um, you know, there's instances where I wish I'd had a print copy of it. There's other instances where I don't feel as bad that I don't have a print copy of it. We'll get into that as we get into the actual physical review. But I know it is tough for shop owners. They're balancing that because a lot of their product isn't returnable, so it gets into that weird nebulous region of I don't want to get stuck with it, So, but at the same point too, you have to make sure you've got enough product, for your customers, And this is a very important book, especially with Picard. I was surprised at how much marketing muscle CBS put behind Picard. Picard had a huge push. So this is probably that one series, that one Star Trek comic book series you could have deep ordered and you'd probably been fine with it. So Eric's got the cover there up. I was going to just briefly, I've got too many computers going on here at once. So I was going to read the synopsis real quick. So this is, again, we're talking about Star Trek Picard Countdown number 3. This is 3 of 3. This is third issue. This is the big conclusion. It says Jean-Luc Picard has traveled to the furthest reaches of the galaxy, defeated impossible foes, and survived in the face of unthinkable odds. But it's the end of this one mission that will change his life forever. This is the official countdown of CBS All Access. Star Trek Picard ends here, and things will never be the same. This is written by Kirsten Beyer, who actually is one of the showrunners for Star Trek Picard on CBS All Access. It's co-written by Mike Johnson, art by Angel Hernandez, and this is, again, published by IDW. IDW has the license to do all the Star Trek stuff. So they do all of it. So I guess I'll just start with overall impressions, because this will be a spoiler-filled conversation because we need to get into into the farthest reaches of this particular story to determine how relevant we feel like this was for Picard. So Eric, do you want to start with your overall impressions and then I'll give mine?
Yeah. My overall impression is that they tried to do too much in too small amount of time, if you will. Obviously, when you're talking about a comic book, you're really just talking about pages, the number of pages they have to tell the story they want to tell. And I thought this was going to be a completely different story than what we got. This is not a spoiler. This story is really about the two caretakers, slaves, whatever you want to call them, that Picard has in his house. That's really what this is. That's really what this series is. It's an introduction to them and how Picard befriended them, acquired them, depending on your perception, okay, of these characters, okay? So that's not what I thought this was going to be, and that's not the way it was really marketed. I thought this was going to really kind of get into why Picard left Starfleet. That was going to give us some insight in addition to what we got on the TV show, because on the TV show, he talks about it in the first episode during the news broadcast when he's getting interviewed, but we don't really get to see it. We don't get to see what really happened, right? It's kind of all alluded to, and so in this book, I felt like we were really going to see, the Starfleet, drop the ball or they did something really bad. And you don't see that in this. In fact, Starfleet's not really involved in this at all, other than the fact that Picard is on a Starfleet ship, and executing this mission. So it really kind of was, I guess, overall, I'm just a little disappointed because it's not the story that I was hoping that it was going to be.
Yeah, let's see. I found the whole series in a weird way. While it's interesting, it gives us a little bit of context for what is kind of happening with this fabled rescue mission that we don't really get to see much of. It gives us a lot of context for some of that, but ultimately, my impression of the series is I feel like, and it's weird because the Countdown series they did before that actually led into the J.J. Abrams films, the Kelvin timeline, I felt like I really enjoyed that series, and I was happy that I read it because it informed so much about what was happening in the movie that all of a sudden I understood not only the lead up for the film and Nero, but I also felt like I understood a lot better what was going on with Spock. And I had a real good sense of where the next gen fit into everything, even though I know it wasn't supposed to be a jumping off point from the last next gen movie. At the same point, it answered all those questions. So I felt like I knew what happened with B4. I knew what happened with Data. It gave next gen kind of a warm and fuzzy ending, and then led us right into the new J.J. Abrams films, which I quite liked the first one, and I kind of enjoyed Beyond. It just, I was very happy I'd read it, and I felt very fulfilled and satisfied. And I went like, this is really cool. I'm glad someone told me that I need, because I had about missed it until someone had told me about it. And I was very excited, and I very much enjoyed Countdown. And I felt like it informed my experience with the J.J. Abrams film, and made everything, the comic and the movie, a more enjoyable experience because of how they went together. I didn't feel that way with Picard, this 3-issue series. I didn't feel that way at all. It's not a bad. It's not a bad series. I mean, the art's pretty good. I would have handled it a little bit differently myself personally, but the art is good. I think the covers are obviously artistically the strongest point of the series. I feel like that if you were not reading this Picard Countdown miniseries, you didn't miss much. That's my overall impression. It just at the end of the day, unlike, which is funny, the other Countdown series, which I think this is actually supposed to replace, right? Because it has the same name. I think it's supposed to replace it, which is unfortunate. If you read that and you watch the first J.J. Abrams film, it's like, yay. You read this and you watch the first episode of Picard, and you're like, okay. All right. Well, I know what's up with those ramen dudes hanging out at the vineyard, but that's about it. Okay. And then we get into
that's such a great way to sum it up. The Romulan dudes hanging out at Chateau Picard. Hey, I know the backstory now. Wow. Yeah. That's some trivia I can throw at another Trekkie fan. That's what I felt I got out of this.
Yeah. So I think at this point we'll go ahead and we'll get into a little bit of spoiler talk here. We've got a comment. There you go.
He's laughing. He's laughing just like we are. So
yeah, I think unfortunately that sums up this series.